Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. I'm in a great mood this morning. Screw the toxic Sunday, miserable sods. We are here. It's a match day and we're ready to go. Lots to get into this morning as well. Talking about ready to go, Marcus Rashford is ready to go. Latest reports are that he wants to take a pay cut. Dorgu deal is going to happen. We're hearing it's getting very close. Lecce will not lower their price, but Man United trying to include more add-ons than a Sky subscription. Anyway, that could have been better. More add-ons than a Ryanair flight. That's good. You know when you book a flight to Ryanair, you think it's cheap, and then it's like baggage, breakfast. If you want to stand in this bit, that's better. That's better. Also, INEOS looking to get bailed out by the government. Purposely tweeted that so that INEOS bitches can get ruined on a Sunday morning. You know who you are.
Oh, no, they're not. They're not being funded by the government. They're not being funded by the government. It's actually a master plan. It's all part of their master plan to knock Old Trafford down, rip the soul out, and take us back to the top of football with the help of the government. That's not what's happening.
We'll talk about that as well. Also, what's happening with Garnacho and a bit about PSR and everything like that. Also, just want to keep banging this drum. The video we did yesterday on PSR and United's finances is nearly at 200k. This is completely unique for a video like that. Trust me, you do a video on United finances, you're lucky if you get 50,000. Absolutely legends. That is going to go plus 200k. That means over 200,000 people are talking about it, thinking about it, educating themselves about it. Keep sharing that video. That's stage one. Stage 2 is even bigger. You asked for it. It's happening with the United Stand. We are moving this year in a different direction around things that can be done about what's going on with Manchester United Football Club. We are no longer just going to be the biggest community that talks about transfers and tactics. This is time now to try and unite this fan base in a way that nobody ever tries to do because they've got their own pie to eat and defend. So very well done to you lot. Very excited about things that we can start doing. And of course, the door is always open to the Gary Nevilles and the Musts and everybody else who, you know, might get a little bit annoyed by this, but could actually join and have a conversation. But let's come back to the news show. Let's not get too political. Let's talk about the news show. Let's start off talking about Marcus Rashford this morning. Match day today against Fulham. Lots of rumours going around that Bienda's going to start, that Onana didn't travel. The information we have is that Onana is part of the squad and will start. Also, interestingly, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about Garnacho in a moment. He has travelled as well. There is a chance that he will play, which I think is a good thing after the preview last night. The pressure will be there from the board not to play Garnacho, because if he does a knee injury, he can't be sold next week, and they need that money. They desperately need that money. But he has travelled as well. Will he be involved? Let's talk about Marcus Rashford, though. Interesting how is talking now about Spanish reports that he is going to take a pay cut this week to force a move to Barcelona. Desperate to get out. He hasn't travelled with the squad again today. Fully fit. Extra training sessions. He could easily be on the bench. Someone close to that situation told me Rashford would do it. He could be on the bench. He's fit enough to be on the bench. He's ready to play. If he went to Barcelona this week, he'd be in their squad next weekend. He is fit. There is no lingering injury. There is no lingering illness. He is ready to go. But he's not part of the Man United squad because he's not part of Man United's plans. He's not part of Amorim's plans. And Amorim has basically said to the club that he is not going to be in my squad until after the January transfer window, because I don't want him here after the January transfer window. And if he is here after the January transfer window, then I've got to deal with a situation that I don't want to deal with for the next 4 months. So Amorim's been very clear that if Rashford's here after the transfer deadline, he's going to have to start putting him on the squad and maybe using him. He doesn't want to do that, so that's why he's not part of the squad today. Marcus Rashford obviously wants to go, wants to play football, and I think we're in a situation now where, look, I don't know how this pans out. Anthony is now officially a Betis player until the end of the year. I can't remember the finer detail of that, but they are paying some of his wages. It could be as much as 100 grand a week, which over a 6-month period, that could be worth 5 million to us, getting Anthony out with half his wages. So, it's a 5 million saving. There might even be a bit of a loan fee there as well. With Marcus Rashford, it's a lot more of a wage. And I don't think Barcelona or anybody wants to pay 350k a week. So I think with 84% of his wages for Anthony, as somebody said yesterday. So if he's on 150, that's about 150 grand a week for us. That's about, 300, 600k a month. That's what, 3 million between now and May? It's something, isn't it? For a player that offers absolutely nothing. So it's a little bit of money coming in. It doesn't touch the sides, but it's still a little bit of money coming in. And I think from Man United's point of view, they're at that point with Rashford as well. It's on him, though. He's the player that earns the big bucks. He's the player that's got the contract. And Barcelona and Milan and everybody else will just say to him, look, we're not going to pay 300k a week. We don't want to pay 150 grand a week. So I think Marcus Rashford doesn't need the money. Let's put it that way. Marcus Rashford doesn't need the money. He won't need the money when he retires. He will always retain a brand because he's got people around him that have done a fantastic job in building brand Rashford. Whether it's books, charity work, he's made a lot of money and he will make a lot of money. So the reason I say that is good luck to him. Entrepreneurism, businessman, whatever, fair play, he's made a lot of money. But the point is, you're 27 years of age, your football career is in tatters, there's a World Cup that you want to play at in 18 months. 18 months will fly by. One injury, and that's going to be even less. You can't afford to sit on your arse till the summer. You're not going to make the World Cup squad. I don't think it's very likely anyway, but if you want to do it, you need to be playing yesterday, not in 6 months. So a 50 grand a week pay cut to go and play football is just completely logical. There is no loser here. I don't think anybody, if Marcus Rashford takes a 50 grand pay cut to go to Barcelona, I don't think anyone's going to be laughing, doing videos, writing articles, going, ha, 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 you've been mugged off. I'd personally be sat there going, well done. Shows that money's not your god, shows that you're putting your career ahead of everything else, and respects Barcelona enough to go, I actually just really want to play for Barcelona. I might not get an opportunity to do this again. I will take a 50k pay cut to go and prove to people that I'm worthy of this opportunity. So I think that logically, I think this will happen. I just don't know whether Barcelona actually have got the finances to even do that. I mean, they've been struggling to lodge Olmo, haven't they, as a signing? So I don't know. What I would say is that if Rashford ends up staying at Man United, you've got to have a big look at the people around you and go, how have you dropped the ball on this? I did the interview at the start of January. I've had 31 days, well actually it's 34 days because the transfer window closes on February the 3rd. 34 days to find me a bloody loan move where I'm willing to take a pay cut and you can't find me a club in Europe. It would be an absolute embarrassment. So I think he will find a move in the next few days because I think there's going to be a lot of moves in the next few days around Man United but other clubs as well. And from Man United's point of view, what do we get from it? Look, the most important thing is that Amrim doesn't want to use this player and that Rashford doesn't really want to work with Amrim. So you've got to separate the two. From a Man United point of view, it really doesn't matter. That's the most important thing. Amrim doesn't want to use him and Rashford's not really in the game, is he? So you separate the two. We did it with Sancho last year with Ten Hag. We revisit in the summer where there's more options. We separate them. We hope that Rashford goes off and plays well. And we hope that Amrim can start building something without people like Rashford and Antony. The money doesn't really matter because we're paying Rashford 300 grand a week no matter what. So if he goes to Barcelona and we pay him 250 grand a week, we're still in a better situation. There is no financial issue here for Man United. And I think some people look at it and go, we've got to get 10 million loan fee and we've got to get all his wages. Nah, in the last week of the window, this has been an absolute shit show. I don't know what's going on from Rashford's side. I don't know what's going on from United's side, but it's been an absolute shit show. And they clearly haven't communicated together to get the best outcome. Because if Rashford's getting a full wage and Man United are getting a loan fee, everybody's happy. But it looks like they've both been at each other's throats and ended up in this desperate situation. So you're in a desperate situation. What you do is, as a club, what's best for us? It's not best if Rashford stays because there is not a good relationship with Amrim. So that's not a good thing. If he does stay, we're paying 300 grand a week for a player that's not part of the manager's plans. We may as well pay 250 grand a week and he go to Barcelona. Now, we won't pay 250 grand a week. We'll pay a lot less than that. But my point is, there is no business decision for United that's a bad decision now because ultimately there just needs to be a parting of the ways. And I think we will get that this week. unless something miraculous happens, like Marcus Rashford and Amrim have a few days at Centre Parks and suddenly refound their love for each other in a footballing way. But I can't see that happening. Love the streams, Mark, says Miles. I'm really hoping to see Garnacho start today. He was our biggest threat against Rangers. Let's wait and see. We will talk about Garnacho now, actually, Miles. If outgoings is the only thing we do, it's worrying, says Elliot. All quiet with Casemiro, says Marty. Yeah. I think that with Casemiro, he is not a player that Amrin wants, but he is a player that he hasn't fell out with, so he puts him on the bench. I mean, Marcus Rashford could be on the bench. Amrim's not so stubborn that he wouldn't put a player on the bench just because he doesn't see them as part of their plans. It shows you how his relationship with Rashford has disintegrated into a lack of trust that he won't even put him on the bench unless he absolutely has to. With Casemiro, he doesn't want him here, but he will use him on the bench because the relationship hasn't completely disintegrated. But we won't see Casemiro playing unless he absolutely has to do it. Casemiro is, again, another one who looks to me, and some people don't like this, in the absence of any other information, looks like a mercenary who just wants to sit on his arse and be a Twitter fan, posting, come on Man United for 350 grand a week. Tell me I'm wrong. He's not started in about 10 games. He never gets used. And he's just happy to sit there on 350k a week. I mean, I'm sorry, great player, great career, but at Man United, it's been an absolute shit show, and it's just another mercenary player rinsing us because we gave him a stupid contract. Gifted a membership, Andy Atherton, thank you very much. Happy Sunday, Mark, and the chat, says Chris. Andy Atherton says 35 million or 40 plus for Dorgo, forget about it, says Andy. And I think you missed my point yesterday. No such thing as a free lunch. Rumours are Glazers have cancelled free staff lunch boxes. Get out, you prats. Jay says, will you organise protests against INEOS, Mark? I think protests need to come from people like Manchester United Supporters Trust and other groups. But what we need to do as a fan base is unite the fan base through discussion and relationships. And nobody really wants to do that. So we will start trying to do that over 2025. And we will get a lot of resistance, but we will not be the people that are holding this fan base back from actually trying to come together. And we need to stop the relationships and talks with Manchester United, these cosy little relationships about, oh, I've been invited on the fan forum, oh, I've had a little chat with Sir Jim. They are not gods. They are just people who've got their hands on our football club. And we need to stop negotiating with them and start showing them that the fans are the people that run this football club. And without the fans, you're finished. You can pontificate about knocking Old Trafford down or selling Garnacho or cutting staff or raising ticket prices, but the minute fans stop putting money into that club, your power is gone. So why do we give them power? There needs to be better organisation and better conversation, and the only way that's going to happen, we're stronger together. And too many groups want to break us apart. I don't think we don't want to lead this, absolutely not. But what we do want is why can't people come together and have a conversation on how you work together? Because we're stronger together. For the match today, who do you think will win? Draw on the preview, that's what I said, RFL. Who would take him, let alone pay those wages, says Sticks. And did you see Paul Merson's comments about Garnacho? What a prat, says Dean. Mainstream's dead, mate. I wouldn't even... Give it another 5 years, they won't even be on the telly anymore. Trezor, welcome to the Members Club, 3 months a member. Let's talk about Dorgu. So, what's happening with Dorgu? Fabrizio Romano this morning basically saying that Lecce is still holding out for 40 million euros. Man United's bid was around 30 million pounds/euros. We don't know whether we went higher than that. What Romano is saying is that Man United are still very much in the race. Rob Dawson yesterday was saying that Man United have an alternative in Alvaro Fernandez, and Alvaro Fernandez would be open to the move. We know this anyway because Sam C, who works on the United stand, said it 24 hours before that Alvaro Fernandez is welcome to a move back to Manchester United and open to it. I don't sense Man United actually want to do that deal. My feeling is that Man United are mentioning Alvaro Fernandez in a very convenient way because he is cheap and there is a buyback, and it's to try and get Lecce to lower their price. What we're hearing is Lecce can see this one coming a mile off and are just like, okay, if you walk away, we want to keep Dorgu till the summer anyway. So Man United are screwed. They either pay what Lecce want or they don't. Their little tactic of Alvaro Fernandez is a tactic. We don't want Alvaro Fernandez. We're not going to go back for Alvaro Fernandez unless there's a big turnaround this week. Man United want Dorgu. Lecce don't really want to sell him. until the summer, and if Man United don't pay it, they'll keep him. They're not desperate to sell. So that's the situation. What Fabrizio is saying is that Man United will probably end up paying it with add-ons. So we will probably pay, I don't know, 25 million euros now and give them another 15, 20 million euros over the next 3 years, and do it in installments, which is what we did with Xerxes and what we did with Euros. So I think we will end up getting him, and I think that we will end up paying what Lecce want in one way or another. I mean, look, to be honest with you, we're massively overpaying. I like the player, but we're massively overpaying. But add-ons should be part of this deal anyway. I don't mind paying 40 million euros if he ends up being, you know, a Ballon d'Or winner and we get top 4 every year. I mean, I don't mind that. It's paying it up front. So maybe there's a better deal that can be negotiated here, but I think we will end up getting him. The big issue, I would say, is that this might be our only signing, and it might not happen till transfer deadline day, because we've seen that before. I mean, it happened with Bruno years ago. We knew we wanted Bruno at the start of the January transfer window, and we dragged it out all the way through to the end and then paid what Sporting wanted anyway. And sometimes United will do that because the publicity of the deal keeps them in social media clicks, but it also stops them having to do something else. United are very clever at not doing a deal quickly, because they know if they did the deal yesterday, there's still a week left in the window where people would be going, you've got to get this, you've got to get that. Whereas if they take ages on Dorgu, there's no time to go and get somebody else. So that's Glazonomics. We've been masters of that for a long time. But I do think we'll end up getting it. Outgoings. Well, look, let me just talk about Garnacho and a couple of other things in a moment. One thing that is pretty big that broke last night that might be of interest to you is that we have got a bit of an Old Trafford update. I'm actually just going to read this from the Man United website, because then, you know, you're not getting any spin, are you? Manchester United has welcomed the announcement of government support for the project to regenerate the area around Old Trafford. In a statement on Saturday evening, the UK Treasury said that Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, was championing the Old Trafford project as a shining example of the government's plans to promote economic growth. Manchester United is working with Trafford Council and Greater Manchester Manchester Combined Authority to develop plans for the regeneration of the Old Trafford area, with the development of a world-class stadium for Manchester United at the heart of the project. While Manchester United would be responsible for the stadium development, support from public bodies would be needed to unlock the wider generation opportunity, including improved transport infrastructure and housing. Reacting to the Treasury statement, Omar Barada, CEO of Man United, said, "Oh, fucking hell, we have got a CEO that will talk, have we? Oh, that's great, because for the last 2 months, you've left the brand new manager out to dry like you always fucking do. Oh, but no, there's a bit of government money coming into the club. Oh, I'll have a chat now. Fucking hell, mate. How's about talking about the state of the football club? Why you're cutting bloody charity? Why you're raising ticket prices? You know, why you're trying to sell young players? Fucking hell. This club. Oh, the CEO can't wait to open his gob about, you know, government backing, but won't talk about actual issues going on at the club. Fucking hell, mate. You're a joke. What a prat. You're cutting charity funds to bloody ex-players. You won't say anything. But here we go. The delivery of a world-class stadium can be the catalyst for major regeneration of an area of Greater Manchester which requires new investment to thrive again. We cannot achieve that wider aim on our own, which is why the welcome announcement of the Chancellor and the ongoing support of the Mayor of Greater Manchester and Trafford Council. If we work together, there is a once-in-lifetime opportunity to create a landmark project around Old Trafford that the whole region can be proud of. Andy Burnham, Mayor of Manchester, with our devolved powers, we're mobilising the whole Greater Manchester system to lock in growth for the next decade and reap the rewards for our city region and UK PLC. I think what we've got there is finally what we finally got there is a glimpse of what Sir Jim Ratcliffe meant when he said putting the Manchester back into Manchester United. I don't think anybody understood what that meant. I think we do now understand what that meant. He means regeneration around Old Trafford, making money around Old Trafford. That's what he meant. He wants to surround Manchester around Manchester United. Because if you go to Old Trafford, yes, the city is getting closer and closer, but it is still a bit out on its own. So I think the regeneration of the area around it will bring better infrastructure and better financial opportunities for INEOS and for the Glazers, but they don't want to pay for that. So this is a golden ticket for the value of Manchester United without actually being that good on the pitch. If you build infrastructure, if you've ever been to Old Trafford, you know what I'm on about. If you build better transport links, better infrastructure, better housing, apartments, if you go to Wembley, you know what I mean. Restaurants, bars, trains, bus services, lush apartments. That's what they're doing. Wembley of the... Some people just don't analyse. When he said Wembley of the North, it all makes sense. Putting the Manchester back into Manchester United. If you've ever been to Wembley recently, I remember going to Wembley to watch Man United play in '92 in the Rumbelows Cup. Wembley was out on its own. It was a big walkway. It was a bit of a shithole. You go there now, Wagamama on every corner, lovely apartments. Wembley's just sort of boxed into this massive world around it. That's what he means. Wembley of the North. That's what he means. He doesn't mean really the stadium. He means everything around it, and the opportunity and money's there, and that will massively. You put a stadium in the middle of something that's got entertainment hubs, apartments. You're never not going to fill it. You're never not going to fill it, and the opportunities for people to be on stadium tours and this, that, and the other. It'll be. Look, I'm not critical of this. It's a massive money earner, funded by the government. You can never knock the Glazers and I suppose INEOS for business opportunities. We are the most commercially aware football club in the world over the last 30 years, and this is just another opportunity for Manchester United to increase their value without actually being good on the football pitch. And look, if we start making money ourselves, then hopefully we'll be better on the pitch, but we might be waiting 10, 20 years for it to happen. In 10 to 20 years, we might be in a situation where we compete, but no one's stopping Arsenal doing this. There's not a lot around Arsenal. No one's stopping Chelsea do it. No one's stopping Man City doing it. Every other club will do this. The real question is, what happens to Old Trafford? Is that your legacy? Are you knocking down Old Trafford? Which they will do. If they're willing to sell young players, they're willing to knock Old Trafford down. And how long is this going to take, and how much is it going to cost us? And who's going to build your £2 billion stadium? These are all the questions that need to be asked. The taxpayer's going to pay for everything around it, of course. But I mean, look, I'll from a business point of view, I'll doff my hat. If you can get your football club in the centre of a hub being funded by the government, you are going to make money without spending a penny. And all you've got to do is find a way to build the hub, the stadium, which they'll probably be able to do with a lot of businesses going, we want to be part of that. How much will own Old Trafford, I don't know. Or New Trafford, or whatever it's called. But I wouldn't put anything past Glazers and INEOS, really. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to fund it. Probably another loan, maybe a cash injection. We'll just have to wait and see. But what I will say is that is why Omar Barada's decided to come out and talk, because they'll be smiling from ear to ear this morning with that. You basically got the government building all your transport links, all your apartments, all the way around your ground. It will make us a lot of money in the future. But there's still a big question about how we're going to do it. I mean, look, you can't moan. I'm not moaning about this. In the future years, it will be very beneficial for Manchester United, and that area does need regeneration. It definitely does. And it will link Old Trafford with the city, which is coming out closer and closer, and Manchester will thrive because of it. Manchester's a fantastic city, but what I would say is it's an absolute cash grab from the owners. They're going to make a lot of money out of it, and they're going to increase the value of Man United, and that will happen regardless of what happens on the pitch, because we will fill out the ground anyway. We'll fill out the ground next home game against Palace, even though we're not even in the top half of the table. It's how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost and who's going to pay for it. And in the short term, I think the most important thing is what's happening on the pitch. I mean, I'd be interested actually. I think 60% want to knock Old Trafford down and build a new stadium. I'd be interested if that's changed now. I still think knocking Old Trafford down is sacrilege and is not something I would want on my conscience as an owner. But I think we all know that's going to happen. Mark, we will see Beyonce concerts and Buffalo Bills play in the stadium before winning the Premier League again. Well, that will happen, Andy. We will be the new Spurs because it's money. If you can turn your stadium into a hub for concerts by Coldplay and American football games, yeah, that's how you make money, isn't it? Do you still see a chance of Qatar buying? Absolutely not, Kenzo. Able to get a PSR expert on the show to answer questions like how long until PSR isn't a problem. Patrick, we don't need a PSR expert. Literally watched the video yesterday. This is why people aren't educating themselves, because they think it's really difficult. It's not really difficult. The information is out there. We are failing on PSR because we have to pay debt interest payments, we pay too much in wages, and we can't sell players. Those three things would allow us, if we got rid of them, to use our own revenue. There's nothing wrong with Man United's revenue. We make a lot of money. I think we're 4th on Deloitte's richest list. We make the money, we just can't spend it because we waste too much of it paying debt interest payments, paying too much in wages, and not being able to sell players. Those three things need to be solved. Or you increase revenue. Now, you can increase revenue by having a bigger stadium and etc., but that's going to take years. You can increase revenue by having bigger sponsorships. You know, as I said, they could sponsor Old Trafford tomorrow. Old Trafford supported by Tesla for 20 million tomorrow each year. There are ways to get money in. Old Trafford needs knocking down. Mark says, enjoy writing. You're just an antagonist, aren't you? You enjoy trolling. You should change your name. Mark, we need you to start protests, says Zach. Could it be that INEOS are intentionally running the club down to the ground in public view so valuation crashes? No, Hitan, because what's been announced with the government today will increase the value of Man United as a share. Casemiro, there'll be a lot of people buying shares in Man United today because of that announcement by the government. Casemiro could still leave at the end of January or even February, as the American transfer season doesn't even start until the end of Jan, says Glenn C. Admitted they can't afford it, says Dazzo. Look, I don't want to talk about the other potential ownership, but Qatar was going to spend for all this themselves. They were going to buy and own all this themselves. They would have owned all the infrastructure and everything around Old Trafford themselves. I don't know. I'm not an expert in building. Maybe we should get Gary Neville on the show. I don't know what... Look, for me, it would be better if we built everything around Old Trafford and owned all the land, because we'd take all the profit from all those businesses, etc. But I would imagine there is still land around Old Trafford. We don't own that much, actually. I was thinking, I would imagine if... Look, the guitar thing is irrelevant, but I think what they were looking to do is they would have bought up land around Old Trafford and regenerated it themselves with their own money. Therefore, they would have owned all that, and that would have been profits into the club. I think what the government are going to do is they're going to own all the land around it, regenerate it, and that will make money for them. And maybe United will get a little slice of it. I don't know. I suppose all this will come out in the wash. Neville and Beckham were at Davos with elite pounds, with the elites, says the alien. And he has... Oh, that was the World Economic Forum, isn't it? Says the alien, yeah. Hi, Mark. Excellent show yesterday. Explain the real reason behind the rut we've been in. If somebody still has any doubts about INEOS, they need to look at where Nice are in the Europa League table, says Karen. And Ahmed says, last summer you said you'll make a video about INEOS, then we signed Yoro, Delit, etc. Now you exposed INEOS, we get Old Trafford regeneration, United stand effect. Yeah, Ahmad, I'm glad you said that. I mean, that video went out yesterday because I think we needed it to go out. And I'm not saying it's perfect. I just wanted to open up the conversation, and I think it has opened up the conversation. A few hours later, we get government backing. I think it's coincidence, but we are such a pathetic sellers. Should have sold Rashford for 80 million when there was actually people interested a few years ago, says Avi. I'd have signed Casemiro's contract if offered, says enjoy writing. So would I. For the match today, who do you think will win? We've done that one as well. Appreciate that. Let's talk about Garnacho. So with Garnacho, he is still, nothing has changed. There is still very much talk that he will be leaving Man United this week for £60 million. Staying with the economic issues at Manchester United, look, in relation to PSR, I don't want to overload people. I think watch the video yesterday to start to get the basics. But with PSR, there are certain allowances each year on how much you're allowed to overspend. And we've been close each year. And this year, between June last year and June this year, we're going to be very close again. And INEOS have contributed to that. Of course they have. They bought a lot of players in the summer. So the Garnacho thing is basically because if you bring £60 million into the club, you massively stop yourself being in danger of going over the limits of PSR. So, I mean, that's the simple equation. And it gives you some money to be able to buy some players. But that's not unique to Garnacho. If you could get rid of Casemiro to Qatar, to Saudi Arabia, that would help. If you could have sold Rashford, that would help. So we're sort of in this position now where we're having to sell a young player because he's the only player that anybody wants. And if we don't do it, we're tight on PSR. But as we've said before, we're tight on PSR because we have to pay debt repayments. We're tight on PSR because the owners won't put money into the football club, and there are ways that could be done. So we're not complete poverty. It's not the only option we've got. It's the only option our owners want to take. They want to sell stuff rather than, sacrifice their own profits, etc. And that's the situation we're in. So that hasn't changed. They still are very much in danger in PSR. So selling Garnacho, as they sell as the only thing they can do, it's not the only thing they can do. It just hurts us. It doesn't hurt their pocket. Watch the video. But what I would say is that INEOS can't take responsibility for the last 3 years of PSR. They can only take the responsibility for the last 12 months because they were in charge of transfers last summer. But even if you take the last year and that 1 year, are we close to the PSR limits? Yes, we are. So INEOS are responsible for that year. I look at what we did in the summer and I like what we did in the summer, but you didn't buy a left back. You took yourself to the limits of PSR and you didn't buy a left back. For me, that displays a lack of football knowledge in itself. You took us to the limits of PSR in that 12 months, but you didn't buy a left back. I mean, it's just shit planning, isn't it? Why are you risking the club getting fined and points docked by not actually being active in the transfer market for something that's glaringly obvious? And here we are in January now, looking to overpay for that left back and sell a player that we don't want to sell to fund that and help us be compliant. It's just bad running of the football club. We should have bought a left back in the summer and sacrificed one of the players that we did buy. That, look, Yoro's a good signing, but did we need Yoro more than we needed a left back? I want Yoro. He's going to be a very good signing for the future, but we paid a lot of money for Yoro. We paid £50 million. We should have gone for a left back first. And look, it's nice to have Yoro. It really is. But here we are in January having to sell Garnacho to buy a left back and be compliant with PSR. It's just not good planning, in my opinion. And we didn't necessarily need to do some of the things we did. Do I think Garnacho's going to go? I mean, it's just take it day to day. I think that's what Amram's doing, isn't it? Take it day to day and see what happens tomorrow. Today we've got a game against Fulham. I hope he plays. Do I think... And then you've got a game on Thursday. Look, we've got Palace before the window closes. He could play another 3 games. Palace could be his last game next week. I don't know. New stadium will boost the value of INEOS shares. If Sir Jim is not buying more shares now while they're cheaper, he never will. I think I want to go back to just the Glazers, says Lewis. The council won't back an old structure like Old Trafford, says Stephen Willocks. And, mate, Old Trafford's getting knocked down. It's I don't care if I'm the only person, Old Trafford being knocked down will hurt massively. And I think it will hurt a lot of people. And it doesn't need to happen. And the only reason it's happening is because of the Glazers. I went to Anfield last summer, and Anfield is a very old football ground, but it's very modern now. Like, they've got booths for interviews. It's a modernised old stadium because they've looked after it. There are people out there that spin shit for INEOS and the Glazers, and we all know who they are. But what they don't what they don't ever have is an answer to facts. And the facts are that Anfield's an old stadium that they're not looking to knock down or move away from because they've looked after it over the years, they've regenerated it, and they've made sure that it hasn't rotted and rust. Old Trafford has rotted and rusted to a point where it would be ridiculous, really, to try and renovate it if you could build a new stadium. I accept that statement. But the reason that's happened shouldn't be swept under the carpet. We shouldn't be knocking down Old Trafford. And there's only one name responsible for that, and that's Glazer. They took the club in 2005. In the previous 10 years, we rebuilt Old Trafford, we modernised it. In the next 20 years, they haven't done anything. They've literally sat there and watched it rust. And I would say, did they do it on purpose? Was this always part of the master plan? Rinse the club for 20 years, bring another investor in, use them as the front to knock it down, and then knock it down and rinse the club for another 20 years because the value will go up. These people, you don't like them, their football knowledge is shit, but don't ever doubt their business acumen. Everything they do around Man United makes them money. It makes us miserable, it makes them money. M&M, their money, we're miserable. We should be sponsored by M&M's. Yeah. It's got to get knocked down. I'm not saying it's not got to get knocked down, but why it's got to get knocked down shouldn't be forgotten. If selling young players is the only way we can do for now, should Amorim be trying to bring through youth like Ten Hag? Ten Hag's job was trying to create value. Kobe, Garnacho, Toby. Look, if Toby Collier has a good end to the season, he's an Arsenal player next year. Tell me I'm wrong. You've got to... I must have done something right. Enjoy Writing says your analysis of the ground is correct. Thanks, pal. You've got to change your mentality about this football club now. You thought you supported a club that was built on the foundations of promoting youth and creating, legends. We're heading down a road where we find youth, take it to a certain level, then sell it for profit. So Collier, we bought from Brighton, get him into the first team, sell him for 40 million to Arsenal, 40 million profit. So don't start thinking of that. It's a new mindset, isn't it? I see young players coming through for Man United, like Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood and, John O'Shea and all this. And I think, can they be a player for the next 10 years? Because that's what we do. I wouldn't even say the next 10 months now. If there is a player that comes through that people like enough, we're just Brighton. We're just, so I wouldn't be surprised if Collier was gone in a year. Next January transfer window. They'll try and do one of these every year now. Look, any business that finds a way to pump profit into your business that's easy, they won't just do it once. They won't care about morals. They'll be like, that puts money into our club. It'll keep happening. All clubs should be transparent about PSR, as the paying customer should be able to table where every club is on the PSR scale, says Flawed Price. I think PSR in general is a disgrace how it's not reported properly in a very simple way. I think a lot of journalists, I think a lot of football clubs try and make PSR really complicated and treat you like mushrooms and feed you on shit. It's not that difficult. It can be broken down into bullet points, which is why we did the video yesterday. There's a lot more to it, but it's almost like, it reminds me of being a kid. Like, can I have a chocolate mousse for my pudding? No. Why? There isn't any in the fridge. There is. I saw you buy them yesterday. They're for Christmas. That's not for 8 months. They'll be out of date by then. You're not getting the truth. Just tell me the truth. Like, and with PSR, it's the same. PSR is the reason that we lost to Fulham. PSR is the reason that we can't, we've got to sell Garnacho. PSR is the reason that we've got to sack people. PSR is the reason that, Marcus Rashford went out drinking in Belfast. It's like, it's being used for everything, and actually, it's actually quite simple, and people should be educated on it. Southampton version 2, says Barry the Bee. Thank you very much for that. I want to make sure I've got all the news out. Match day today, of course. Looking forward to that. Spoke to you about that. Spoke about Rashford. Garnacho as well. Yeah, look, I think it's a convenient excuse, Rob. If you're a Man United fan and you're 11, or if you're a Man United fan and you're 19, I think in 20 years' time, when they've built that stadium and the regeneration of the area, we could be in a situation where we are, as a football club, making a lot of money again and not in trouble. The future could be bright. It could take a long time to get there, and it could. Let's not forget, when Man United start making profit, the dividends start coming out again as well. So you have to balance history with the present. And at the moment, we are restricted on PSR because of debt repayments and the inability to sell. So we're restricted, and the inability of the lack of desire for the owners to put their money in as well. So we've got owners who don't want to put money in, we've got interest payments on debt, and we've got the inability to sell. So we've got loads of reasons why we can't do what we want to do. In 20 years' time, the club could be making a lot of money. What happens then? Dividends go out. So you look at it and you go, we could spend 300 million every summer on transfers. PSR says you can. The bank balance in the club says you can't, because although you've made 300 million that you can spend on transfers, Glazers have took 60 out in dividends. So Man United being profitable doesn't solve the problem. We've had 20 years of profitable and dividends going out the club as well. So the dividends have stopped because the club is not that profitable anymore. The minute we become profitable again, I imagine the dividends will start again, and that's another problem where you can't buy players. So, yeah. I can't turn my mic up. It's on maximum. I don't know what some people's problem is. I've spoken about this a million times. It's on maximum for me, and lots of people are now going to say volume's fine. So stop wasting the chat time with the volume question. Obviously, I'm aware some of you have got a problem with it. I can't do anything about it. Sorry. Right, thanks everyone for tuning in. We are back for Countdown to Kickoff at about 5:30. We've got Van Cam with Kev as well. And if anything breaks, we'll go live as well. But it's a match day tonight, and looking forward to it as well. I don't think we'll lose tonight, but we are underdogs. Bring it on. Take care. Fantastic show. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.